Only the champions challenge the clouds. That's the motto of this race. Inside the last 60 kilometres already, we've had a breakout there of 4 riders in this 8th Strade Bianche, going along the beautiful countryside that is Tuscany. Started in San Gimignano this morning, 200 kilometres of roads, 50 of which come on the white sterrato, or white roads of Tuscany. Gravel roads that are compacted and kick up big clouds of white dust. That is when the weather's like this anyway. Those of you who watched the Giro d'Italia a couple of years will remember Montalcino, and will remember the mudded faces of the riders, the brown jersey that was supposed to be white of the world champion Cadel Evans, the winner on that day. This is epic stuff. You're either mate dust or you eat dust in this race, they say. Well, 56.8 kilometres remaining. Those in the break, let's get up to speed. They are Marco Frapporti of the Androni Giocattoli team, Angelo Pagani for Bardiani CSF, Yellow Flow have Andrea Fedi, and United Healthcare, another Italian, Davide Frattini. So 4 Italians in the front of the race. They had a gap of around 10.5 minutes at one stage. It's down, we're led to believe, to below 4 minutes now, with Sky doing a lot of the work on the front of the peloton. Remember, Sky today without Brad Wiggins, so Ben Swift rides with them. Gusev did not stop for Katusha, and we've had one abandoned so far, and one of the favourites of the race, Pippo Pozzato. Well, I'm Rob Hatch, and alongside me, Brian Smith. Brian, it's a special race, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the 8th edition of the Strade Bianche, and when it first came, everybody thought, oh, well, you know, see how it goes. But all the top teams are here. Everybody really wants it. These 16 teams, 18 teams in this year's edition, 11 of them World Tour, and as you can imagine, a lot of the kind of second division Italian teams. But yeah, everybody wants to win this, and in this race, we only have, of the previous editions, we only have one winner not here, and that's Philippe Gilbert. But every rider that has won Strade Bianche since the start is here today, and obviously Cancellara holding the record with 2 wins. So it's going to be interesting. Cannondale having first and second last year with Moreno Moser and Peter Sagan. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do today, because both of them are here.
Well, Sagan versus Cancellara, that's how it's been billed. The first instalment in the spring story that surely involves both of them, hopefully at least until the end of the classics anyway. 3 minutes a gap between the front of the race on the left-hand side and those chasing on behind. 55.4 kilometres to go, and in 2 kilometres time we go into the hardest part of the race. It's the 7th of the 10 Sterrato sectors, or white road sectors, the Strade Bianche, after which the race is named. It is 11.5 kilometres long. It starts at the Ponte del Garbo. It's called the Sante Marie, and it's going to be extremely difficult. A lot of climbing in this part coming up, Brian, and this is where, let's say, the men from the boys will be sorted.
Oh, for sure, it's going to be sorted out. If we look at the previous editions and who has actually won this, you're looking back to the first edition. Kolobnev, Lundqvist, Iglinski, Moser, Cancellara won it twice. So you're looking at sort of strong riders, and there's a kind of mixture of who this race really helps. And obviously you have to be strong, but it's 200 kilometres, so we do get a mixture of strong riders and climbers, because towards the end, the last 20 kilometres are pretty severe, you know, with the 15, 18, 16% gradient. So it's going to be tough for everybody.
146 kilometres ridden already on this year's Strade Bianche. We've passed the highest point in the race, which was into Montalcino. Of course, the scene of that epic day back in the Giro d'Italia in 2010. Cadel Evans winning ahead of Vinokurov that day. Evans in his world champions jersey. He's back. He says this race is very, very special. He says, especially for the foreigners. They come to Italy, fall in love with the area, fall in love with a race that has its roots in the past. And of course, you can see that the Italians love it as well. It's about TV time. It's about just chancing your arm here for the breakers.
Well, it's a nice weekend, isn't it? And luckily the weather is good. When you mentioned the Giro d'Italia stage, when Cadel Evans won that, it was yeah, it was difficult to see him and his World Championship jerseys was such the discolour that the Strade Bianche roads put into it, and it was kind of brown in the end. But yeah, it's a good weekend. You've got Strade Bianche today and tomorrow Roma Maxima, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why Pippo Pozzato has decided for Lampre to step off today. He's got reasonable form. He knows that he's got Lucy and Kunigo in his team, so they're probably a wee bit better suited to this race than maybe Pozzato. And last year he finished second in Roma Maxima. Put his hands up. He thought he'd won, yeah. But he wants to win this race tomorrow, so he stepped off.
Asciano, well, we'll head on to that seventh and most dangerous of the sectors. There really is no respite whatsoever as they go through Asciano. City well known for its September Palio. Of course, we're headed to Siena, where the most famous of the Palio event is held in the Piazza del Campo. BMC on the left-hand side have an interesting lineup today. Of course, you mentioned no Philippe Gilbert. He's riding Roma Maxima tomorrow. But they've come here with a team that includes Samu Sanchez. Of course, not quite on form, you Philly. Only rode his first race last week, which is the Tour du Haut-Var for his new team. But he's there, you suspect, to support Cadel Evans today.
Yeah, he'll do what he can. He's got reasonable form. He isn't... got the form we've known in the past, Sammy Sanchez, so it'll be interesting. We're just turning right into the towards the next section of the Strade Bianche, and you can see the dust flying in as we hit it, as the motorbikes and the cars kick up this white dust in these white roads. So this comes with 53.6 kilometres. It says 8 on the screen, but 56.6 kilometres to go on the road book, and that's why BMC are moving Evans up towards the front, and Sky are trying to look after their team as well by moving up towards the front. And with 53.7 kilometres to go now, this is where it starts to get interesting. It's a battle to get onto these sectors. As Robbie said, there's 10 sectors in this race, and you know the sectors that are the most difficult are the sector 6 and 7. We've already been over 6, and this is sector 7, which is at 11.5 kilometres long, the longest sector. So that's why we've got the battle in the bunch of everybody trying to get their team leader up towards the front.
Sector 6 and 7, where the favourites really will be separated. We've had 6, as you said, Brian. Anybody who is a little weak, who feels they don't have the legs in this early part of the season. Remember, 200 kilometres long this, and it comes a week after the opening weekend in Belgium as well. A few riders might have picked up some colds and coughs riding in the wind and rain there. The peloton have a pretty fierce pace on behind, you can see at the minute. Bernie Eisel doing some brilliant work here for Sky. They're riding without Brad Wiggins today. There's been a bit of a change in the Sky setup over the last couple of days. Chris Froome's got this nasty lower back injury. It's forced him to pull out of Tirreno Adriatico next week. So Sky have upset the Paris-Nice organisers, ASO, by taking the defending champion Richie Porte out of that race, saying that it's their decision, and obviously the team's decision, to send him to Tirreno in what they say is a profile that suits him more. Geraint Thomas will lead Sky at Paris-Nice, but here, rather inexplicably, Wiggins has been pulled from this one. He surely could have raced here and in Tirreno as well. Shouldn't make any difference whether it's Froome or Porte he's riding for, should it?
No, it won't. The team have got obviously some choices to make, and we really don't know what's the reasoning behind Wiggins not starting today and Ben Swift obviously coming on board. And you pointed out that some of the riders coming from Belgium to these races, we do have colds and you know, people feeling unwell and some injuries, as you said, with Chris Froome. It's quite unfortunate. And over the last few years, we have, especially with, you know, we're talking about Team Sky, they have been pretty much on form. They come into a race, and we don't really hear too much about injuries and you know, illnesses with them. Okay, last year we had the knee problem with Wiggle before the Tour de France and had to pull out of that. But yes, one of these things, until the team released why Wiggins did not ride today's race, because I think he wanted to ride. I think most pro riders want to ride this race. It's, you know, it's one to tick off in your bucket list as a pro cyclist. So
it's a race of dreams, isn't it? I think every pro rider in the peloton must dream of winning this. Look at the white smoke and clouds that's coming up behind. You could see the chain rattling a minute ago as we saw that slow-mo. It's bone-shattering stuff, but it's pretty epic stuff, and hence the old name, the Heroica, the heroic race. 2 minutes now the gap. You can see the pace behind absolutely shattering it, but the professional race does have its roots in the amateur race that was set up in 1997 using old vintage heavy bicycles, and they had to ride across here. It's a race that's still going, actually. Short, steep hills, and you can see now, Brian, on some of these shots, you're getting a visual taste for some of the steep, sharp gradients. There really is no respite for 11 kilometres here. It's up and down and pretty much up, I think, most of the way.
Yeah, it's pretty lumpy, and you can see the as we get down towards the middle of the peloton, towards the back, we're starting to see some gaps starting to appear, and this is where you don't really want to be. And this is one of the Sky riders at the back here, Ian Boswell, and he was doing a pile of work as we came onto this sector, so it's no surprise he's down here. Some of the riders just in front, the MTN Quebecer team, great to see them in this race. They've got some good riders now, and Chierlik is riding at the moment in the 3 days up in West Flanders at the moment. He doesn't have, he has a cold. A few of the riders with the MTN Quebecer team do have colds, and this is what happens. But we're seeing the difficulty of a lot of the riders towards the back, the place you don't want to be.
Well, you get the feeling that there may have been a little stoppage in the peloton there. Not sure whether somebody's gone down or slipped off, because a couple of riders stopping. There's Daniel Tekla-Heimanot really struggling on the right-hand side alongside Ian Boswell. This is one of the changes from last year. This last year was Sector 5. It's been moved later on in the race now to Sector 7, the Monte Santa Maria. Hilly, exposed, short climbs, as you can see. The difference and gap being shattered. They've lost a minute and a half since they came onto this section just a kilometre and a half ago. We're talking about 20% gradients at certain sections here.
Yeah, it's tough. You want to be riding at the front, and that's why you can see 3 Sky riders towards the front, one of them being Ian Stannard. But as we go up towards the breakaway, the 4 riders in front, number 15 is Frapporti of Androni Guacatoli, and 38 Pagani of Bardiani, 165 Frattini of United Healthcare, and Fedi 174 of the yellow fluoro team. And the reason why this gap is coming down so quickly is everybody knows this is the longest section, and we've seen BMC and Sky really ride hard into this section, and that's why the gap came down. The 4 riders in front just have to bide their time and try and stay out there as long as possible. They did take off in the first few kilometres, so they will be starting to tire. You see gaps starting to appear, but this is the section that everybody will be most worried about. They go over here, they stay in the front, they don't have a puncture or a crash, and the confidence will grow. Still 51.6 kilometres to go, so still a long way, and a few sectors to come.
Pagani's the man out the front at the minute. He's joined, of course, by Frapporti and Frattini alongside Andrea Fedi. We're going for a quick commercial break. We'll be back here with the rest of the Eroica in a couple of minutes' time. 51 Ks to go. Send us your tweets, hashtag Eurosport Cycling, as we're on our way into beautiful Siena. On the most difficult of the gravel roads, the Strade Bianche at the moment, this is where the race is being blown up. The gap coming down in the breakaway, so Angelo Pagani has decided that he's out on his own and making a run for it.
Yeah, definitely is. He's not hanging around, and he wants to get across this section with as much lead as possible. We're just looking at the front of the main peloton. This looks like Daniel Benatti for Tinkoff Saxo.
A local boy.
Yeah, one of the locals, and just riding tempo at the front. A couple of riders up there from Movistar. They've got Valverde, who's showing some great form at the early part of the season. So with 50 kilometres to go, we just have the 1 rider in front. He's just distanced the other 3 riders he was in the breakaway with. And you just see, going round this corner, gingerly, anybody that's been on a bike, you go around a corner with a bit of gravel, you get some drift, and you don't really want to be falling in this type of roads. And he's just going round ever so soon, putting his knee out to the right. He wants to try and push it, he wants to try and gain an advantage, but just watching Benatti here, putting on the brakes, motorbike, it's fairly close, but getting good pictures obviously. But you can just see the damage that's been done, not just in the inclines but in the descents as well.
Tinkoff Saxo have a useful team here. Benatti, of course, the man who knows the roads. He's in second position there at the minute, but there's also Nicholas Roach as well, the Irishman. Roman Kreuziger, remember Amstel last year? You and I were there when he crossed the line victorious. He's shown that he's not just about stage racing, and one-day races could be the way forward for him. We will see. No real threat of rain at the minute, which is good news for the riders. It means we're going to get these white clouds rather than mud-covered faces. But it's so difficult. Really no respite. There is no flat area of this 7th sector.
The problem is, Robbie, is in these type of steep hills, it's not as if you can just get out the saddle, because if you get out the saddle, your body weight goes forward and you lose traction in your back wheel. So you see a lot of the riders trying to sit in the saddle on these dusty roads. As you see this rider from Tinko Saxoff getting all the kick-up dust from the motorbike, the camera motorbike in front. So a lot of riders giving plenty of space as expected in these kind of gravelly descents. As we said, pretty slippy, and if you hit patches of this built-up gravel, then very difficult. And so these climbs, as you can see, down he goes.
He's down. Luckily back on his feet again, but he's going to need a hand here. Chain needs to clip in again, and that's a nightmare as well. Just think about trying to stand up on your bike, you can't even move.
Well, if it wasn't for the neutral service car, it would have been very difficult for him and his lawn to get started. There he is in one of the smallest gears, but you can just see his back wheel comes over. He's really pulling on the bars. He just slips off the road, back wheel just slips out, and a wee rut there, and that's it. That's happening when he's going uphill. So you can imagine hitting one of these ruts in that kind of downhill. It's and coming off, it's not 8 mile an hour, but 25 mile an hour. It's going to really hurt. Peter Sagan up on the right hand side for Cannondale on the lime green. Still Benatti being looked after on the left hand side, and as Robbie's just pointing out, Uran up towards the front for Omega Pharma Quickstep.
Omega Pharma Quickstep have a strong team here, but you get the feeling that there's a big selection already being made. The question is, Brian, now with 3 sectors after this to come, none of them anywhere near as difficult. We've had a problem for one of the Astana riders. Does that look like Gasparotto? I'm not sure he's even here, actually.
That's the young rider, the young Austrian rider, Zodl, 158 there for Trek Factory Racing, and he's pointing to his shoulder. So the doctor is now with him. So, and again, the Astana rider is just saying that's enough, and that's Kesiakov, and one of their strong riders. So that's what we're saying. You get caught a wee bit too far back and come down one of these descents. You don't really want to be crashing, and that young lad there, Ricardo Zodl, has been showing some great form already this season, and he was one of the outsiders to be there and thereabouts, but unfortunately for him, looks as if he's got a bad shoulder.
Well, looking at Astana, Maxim Iglinski, Hanno Kanga, of course Kesiakov we've seen there. Interesting, the Trek team. You get the feeling now that it really is all for Fabian Cancellara, and it's going to be great to see where he is, because the first real glimpse we've had at him at this time of year so far. He generally avoids the opening weekend of the Belgian season. He avoids Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, which produced Ian Stannard as the first ever British winner of that race last week. We also had Brussels-Kuurne on Sunday, where Tom Bonen got a big win on a one-day race for the first time this season. So he started well, Stannard started well, Sagan at the front here.
Cipollini,
Mario Cipollini. Cipollini, by the way, was in the team buzz of Yellow Flow before the start was given this morning. He was talking tactics. He knows this area well, lives in the area, of course. And there was a couple of reports. Oh dear, problems straight away
Sanz,
for Movistar.
Anzu Sanz, Enrico Sanz, one of their kind of workhorses, is out now. And again, on these sort of conditions in racing, you have to really wait, and he's decided, well, I'm not going to wait that long, I'm going to start walking. And the order of the team cars, if your team car's far back. But yeah, going back to just Cipollini there, Cipollini obviously a good friend of Luca Scinto, the sports director there, as we see some action now at the front of the peloton. It's all kicking off. It was a bit of kind of lull with those 4 riders away. We came onto this sector and we've seen BMC right towards the front, Sky also right towards the front, and we're 11.5 kilometres of this section up and down on these roads, descents as well. Really difficult section, and it's really sorting everything out. We saw during the breakaway that one of the riders not having some great luck at the moment, Luca Paolini, had to stop and change his wheel, and Selig, the German rider on that team, had to stop with him. So it doesn't look in this sector that Luca Paolini is getting back at all.
Fabio Duarte out the back. Problems for the Colombian climber. Now then, let's have a look up the road. This isn't who we think it is it? No. Thankfully, that is not Fabian Cancellara. Instead, it's Eugenio Alafacci, the Italian rider from Trek Factory Racing. But a heart-stopping moment there when the camera zoomed in on the Trek man.
We just saw a banner. His fan club were out in this section here, so unfortunately for him, he's not having a great sector. But still back to the front, this rider here, number 38, Angelo Pagani, 25-year-old Italian. He's got no wins to his career, but his 4th year with this setup, this team. Still has a about 27 seconds, as Robbie said at the top of the programme, that these 4 riders, Porte, Pagani, Frattini and Ferry, had a maximum 10 minutes and 30 seconds. This has been whittled away, not because they want to bring them back, but because of the section. Everybody's given it that respect. It's up and down. They want to stay near the front. And as you can see, this bunch, we started off with 142 riders in the start line today. 4 went down the roads. 138 almost hit this section, and it's been split to pieces.
Marco Frapporti doing his best to try and hang on. And Johnny Giocattoli come, by the way, with Franco Pellizotti as their main man. Johnny Holland's here as well. He could be a useful rider today. 17 seconds. It is almost all over for Angelo Pagani. Monte Sante Maria. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. We started in San Gimignano today. If you've ever visited Tuscany and you haven't been to San Gimignano, what are you been doing? Because that is a beautiful towered place on the hill in the middle of the Chianti region. 17 seconds here for Pagani. It's a more protected part of the course, this. It is quite exposed, the 7th sector. A rare area that are covered with trees, but again, with the weather not really being a factor today, it doesn't matter too much. Pagani doing his level best to stay out for the Bardiani team. Of course, we'll see this team doing their best to light up each and every stage of the Giro d'Italia this year, I'm sure.
Oh, he just went into that corner right in the inside and, you know, hit a few bumps that kind of pushed him out. And again, he's losing confidence. He's already been on the deck. Luckily, it was in the incline. But, yeah, a lot of these riders just ride their normal road bikes. For some of the races with kind of harsh conditions like this, they sometimes adapt bikes. But the only adaptation would be the tyres that they would use, probably using about 25mm tyres. I think most people ride around maybe 22, 23mm, so just a wee bit kind of fatter tyre. But again, because the total distance of these sectors are about 43 kilometres of it in the 200-kilometre race, so it's you don't really want to adapt too much because you're still riding on a lot of tarmac.
46.4 kilometres to go. Attacks coming all the time here. Selection being made behind. Interesting to see if, once this sector's over, there's any chance, you feel, Brian, of anybody who's been dropped coming back in the last 40Ks.
Well, what will happen when we get to the finish of this sector, the teams, the main peloton, which we're looking at the moment, this is the front of the race. There's a few riders still down the road, the original breakaway riders, but we'll get to the end because it's difficult to do too much kind of teamwork in these sectors. As we've seen crashes, we've seen punctures, we've seen, you know, tricky descents, even tricky ascents, and we get to the other side of this section, and what they will do, they will look around and see if who their teammates are, what the combination is, and if they decide to work, then they could go all the way to the finish because we are inside the last 50 kilometres, the race is on. But if it's not good for them, if it's not good for maybe BMC or Sky or Tinko Saxoff, they'll maybe sit back and some other groups will come back on. So it really depends on the on who is in this front group, and hopefully we'll get down and try and pick more riders out, but there only seems to be about 20-25 riders at the front of the race, with a few attacks now going off the front.
Beautiful contrast of colours, the blue sky, the white clouds, the white roads and those green hills, and that's even before you see the smattering of colours of all the jerseys. Look at this, counter-attack time. A Megaformer quick step involved, as are Tinkoff Saxo, I was going to say. I keep getting the names mixed up, of course. It was Saxo Tinkoff.
Valverde
now Tinkoff Saxo. Valverde is a man to watch. He is on form. 5 victories this season. He was the overall winner in Andalusia. He won in Murcia as well.
Reaction from Team Sky. I was just about to say Team Sky rode onto this section and they haven't put anybody towards the front, but it looks as if 3 riders, Valverde's just caught up with them. Team Sky on the counter-attack now, but again, it will really depend on the makeup of the front group when we come out of this section. It does look as if it's Carol Evans for BMC towards the front. Again, one of the motorbikes in front, just pushing that rider out because, again, some of these dangerous sections have built up mud and gravel. If you hit that, then down you go.
Diego Rosa comes to join Angelo Pagani. 45 kilometres remain. These two out in front, but their gap at the moment is not a particularly big one. It's a handful of seconds. Now, is this Nicolas Roche? That's the question. Certainly looks to be his style. We've seen Evans behind. Counterattacks too coming from a Megaformer Quick-Step Sky. Difficult to get the motorbikes close to have a real look at the faces in these pots.
We've already seen that situation. They're kicking up the smoke and the gravel in front of them, so very difficult for the riders to see, so you have to give them a bit of room. See, Carol Evans, I think, is the BMC ride, and just see his fluoro shoes, but on these tricky descents, very, very dangerous. One of the riders goes down, and that is Rosa, who Androni team is one of the riders that have just gone on the attack and got up to Pagani. He's not happy, but again, this race really coming full of action here on this 11.5 kilometre section.
Diego Rosa down then, luckily for him, back up, but there's no rush to get back on because he's not going to get back on. This was the moment. Pagani a little more cautious, and you can see why.
He just went into the corner too fast, and when you go into the corner too fast, you cannot touch the brakes or do anything with the brakes. You just have to hope you're going to get around it. So the gravel's just kind of drifted them out, and he just run out of road. You can just see Pagani here on the left-hand side. He's trying to look for the smoothest parts, and gravel on the left, gravel in the middle, and gravel on the right-hand side. So you just have to try and use the tyre tracks.
We've talked about the gradients and the difficult climbing here. What is more difficult, climbing or descending on this type of terrain?
I was just looking at
Rosa,
just waiting for some assistance from his team car. I think both. It's more dangerous going downhill on the gravel because it's just you can lose control of your bike if you're going too fast. If you go into a corner, you can't lean it over, or like you're on tarmac. So again, the danger is in the descent, but it's just as hard to ride up these climbs with the amount on it. So we see Team Sky coming and pushing on it. Seeing Stannard, the winner of Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. And we're just looking two from Tinko Saxoff, just Carol Evans, who's won over these roads before in the Giro d'Italia. So a very select front group now starting to appear at the front of this race today.
Interesting to see who the Megaformer Quick-Step rider was. I was trying to see if it was the long locks of Oran, but I'm not
very
sure.
Much looked like it was Oran, but seeing Stannard at the front for Team Sky, it does look as if it might be Kwiatkowski, the Omega Pharma Quick-Step rider, just behind him in the black with the white helmet. So Ian Stannard has chosen this time to keep the pressure on. He is a man on form, and again, Wiggins deciding not to ride this Ben Swift, replacing him, and just see the speeds as Ian Stannard decides to come out. This is the man on form. He really wants to do something. And I'm not too sure if he's got any teammates at this moment, but with 43.1 kilometres to go to the finish, he knows this is a time, very select front group, and he wants to keep the pressure on.
Well, the obstacles don't end here. Even when the 10 gravel sectors are out the way, we get inside the last 20 kilometres. There are some ferocious hills, big gradients, 15% inside the last kilometre, remember. As that select group starts to form here, one or two have teammates in the group. A Megaformer Quick-Step have two riders here. It's a new bike in the end for Diego Rosa.
Unfortunately for him, just into that corner too quickly, and you go from the front of the race to race over. So this race has got its victims already, and very difficult for a lot of these riders.
Roman Kreuziger, second in line there. Just behind him, Alejandro Valverde, Cadel Evans, and of course Kwiatkowski is a little further back in the Polish champions jersey. Also there for a Megaformer Quick-Step, we have Michał Gołasz, the former Polish champion. And at 1:07 is Matteo Trentin. Now, he's a quick rider, he's a big guy, and he has form. He's been riding very, very well. A Megaformer Quick-Step, the winning team, if you like, from this move, because they've managed to put three of their riders in it.
Yeah, very strong team, and they have come here to win this race. I know that David Bramati is in the team car for them as we come off this section. So this is the front of the race.
And Sagan is there, all important. Where is Fabian Cancellara? Surely that's him in the black jersey.
I'm just trying to count the last rider. Tinko Saxoff, there was 10 riders. That's another Movistar rider. So 11 riders at the front. And again, a lot of victims in this race already over this section, 11.5 kilometres.
Dominic Nertz there for BMC. They came with Darwin Atapuma riding his first European race in BMC colours. Here's Valverde on the front as they're done with the most difficult section of Sterrato in the race, and it must be a beautiful feeling to have tarmac under the wheels again after that.
It's kind of funny feeling going off, but again, you're right when it says Omega Pharma Quickstep having 3 riders, so they have decided to come to the front. They are in a good position and they want to keep the pressure on coming up to the 40 kilometres to go mark. We still have 3 sections to go. The next section, it comes with 24.6 kilometres to go, but it's only 800 metres, so the damage has been done in the longest section of this race, but there's still 41.5 kilometres to go.
Valverde close to the front, one of the favourites. We've seen Cadel Evans up there as well. There's Matteo Trentin, Kreuziger's in there, Sagan is there as well. Pace being put on by Omega Pharma Quickstep. Kwiatkowski, who's on big form. Who's going to win it? Remember, tweet us your suggestions and questions as well. Hashtag Eurosport Cycling, at Bryce Smithy for the man next to me, at Rob Hatch TV, if you want to send something to this side of the commentary box. We're off for a quick break. 41 kilometres remain in the 2014 Strade Bianche. You're back with us with 40 kilometres to go here on Strade Bianche 2014. Number 42 at the back is Darwin Atapuma. Managed to get himself up into one of these important groups at the front. The main man driving things is Cadel Evans. Loves these roads, knows them very well. He's won on them before in that epic Giro stage. And of course today is the Eroica. Time for something else heroic, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Evans. We know he's got some good form. He showed some good form in the Tour Down Under, but there was an 11-man group came off that last section of the white dust roads, and we have had a group coming up from behind. We believe there's about 20-25 riders now at the front of this race, and we've not seen if BMC have got any other riders with Evans, so he's on his own. And when you're on your own, it's better to try and go on the attack sooner rather than later and take another group with you, because when the regroupments and if you're outnumbered, then it gets very difficult for you. So this is Evans. It has all come back together. We see Kunigo in there just behind Kwiatkowski. Ulisse, the winner of the race during the week, Grand Prix Camaiore, right in the centre of the picture in the pink sleeves. Kunigo, his teammate, just a wee bit further up. But we have got some numbers here for Omega Pharma Quickstep. Ian Stannard just sitting second from the back. A lot of riders just looking behind. Again, they've just been looking to see what teammates they've got, what numbers they have. And again, a wee bit of lull in the action. Probably a good point to try and keep the pressure on inside the last 40 kilometres, but nobody really want to kind of strike out too early. They're just getting their breath back after a long section of these roads here in Tuscany.
Well, Lampre, surely the winners of that little regroupment period as well. We talked about the winners of those getting in front on the move before. Koenig will be happy it's come back together. There is Uran. He was missing from that front group as well, but his presence now mean that there are at least 4 or 5 jerseys for Omega Pharma Quickstep.
Also in there for Omega Pharma Quickstep. So it looks as if they've got about 5 riders. And it was Warren Bardwell for Giant Shimano that is at the front. And good to see him there. I think there's a couple of riders in there for a Giant Shimano. So it's all about numbers, and it does look as if Uran here for Omega Pharma Quickstep, he does have numbers and they have plenty of options as well.
One man who does look a little isolated is Ian Stannard. He has one teammate towards the back of the little group there. He's looking behind to try and find him as Cunego, Bargui and all the rest start to look at themselves, and that's when, at that very moment, it is taken up. Cancellara and Sagan together.
Having a wee chat. A few words. You won't get rid of me that easy.
Bit of trash talk, maybe.
Well, Cancellara's won this race twice. He loves... Obviously, he's got some roots in Italy. He loves this race. He loves Tuscany. And but more importantly, this is the 8th edition. And number 8 in this race is Peter Sagan.
Peter Sagan. It could be written in the number books. Interesting you mentioned Fabian Cancellara and his Italian roots. He speaks very good Italian. He writes perfect Italian as well. And a little tweet caused a bit of controversy yesterday. He was having a go at Silvio Berlusconi, saying that, yes, I've ridden so much in Italy, but the roads have never been in such a bad state. He actually said on Twitter, and I quote, "Give all the money that you robbed back and repair the roads." He then had to issue a little bit of an apology after, as Some of those on the right of Italian politics got a little angry, but Cancellara, not usually tweeting about things so serious, obviously a little bit angry at going to the country of his roots and seeing the roads. I don't think he'll be complaining today, though, because, again, we said this is a dream. Riders wanting to ride on these bumpy, bone-shattering roads today.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it definitely looks to be suiting the Omega Pharma Quick-Step team. They have got 5 riders at the front, 5 riders in this front group, and we see them miss out in Het Nieuwsblad, but they can bounce back the next day in Kuurne, Brussels Kuurne, with a dominant performance. And again, 5 riders in a group of just over 20 riders. We're just looking a wee bit further down the road. They do look as if they've got a healthy gap in front of the next group. So with 5 riders in this leading group, it's really a lot of riders now sitting back and letting the team of Omega Pharma Quick-Step from Belgium set the tempo, because they have got the numbers in the front.
Chasing group behind, jersey from I Am Cycling, not represented in that front group. I Am came here with Thomas Lundqvist, one of the former winners of this race. And interesting that Matt Stevens, our colleague here from Eurosport, tweeted in asking who was in the beard jersey. We're talking about the big hipster beards in the peloton at the minute. I'm afraid the man who's probably in the pink jersey for the leader of the hipster beard, or the brown jersey, these guys well clean shaven, you can see. Luca Paolini from the Katusha team, not in that group. So interesting to see where he is. Thank you, by the way, for all your tweets. People tuning in. Matt Hiltman, all the way from Newcastle, Australia, cheering for Cadel Evans. So I wonder if you can make that positive energy get all the way back to Italy from down under. Here's Salvatore Puccio for Sky, just getting a drink from the neutral service car. Just in front of him, for team giant Shimano, is Tom Dumoulin, very strong rider, as BMC, Cadel Evans and Fabian Cancellara, accompanied by Peder Sagan. That is cycling royalty at the front there.
Yeah, just looking at the makeup of this front group, Wout Poels has done his turn at the front. Trentin just going through with them, and a wee bit of chatting now. Kwiatkowski's having a wee bit of a chat. They're just deciding, well, there's really no point over the next 36.6 kilometres to drag all these riders, you know, further into this towards the finish here. So with 5 riders in the front group, they might be thinking of maybe splitting it even more and trying to go on the attack rather than just sitting and you know, allowing all these riders behind them just to get a kind of free ride at the moment, if you can call it a free ride. We are right into the you know, the business end of this race, and still 3 sections to come. The 3 sections come with 24.6 kilometres to go to the finish. It's 800 metres, and then we've got one at 19.3 from the finish, 2.4. And the last one is 13.1 kilometre to go to the finish with 1.1 kilometres. But with the numbers of 5 riders in this front group, Omega Pharma Quick-Step have to maybe think about the tactics rather than just sitting and dragging all these riders further towards the finish.
Christian Jensen at the back with Daniele Benati still in that group there. Looking at the consensus from the tweets we're getting, it's all about Peder Sagan, you think, but there are quite a few big names in here.
Listen,
early form, we don't quite know where people are yet. Sagan has 1 win so far in Oman. Cancellara yet to win.
But he's there in his own. If you can remember last year, that Cancellara and Sagan cancelled themselves out, and Marino Moser went on and won. So again, I've not seen any other Cannondale riders in this front group.
Welcome back on Eurosport Cycling. You're watching one of the races that's become a jewel in the crown of international cycling. This is only a UCI Europe Tour race still, so there's no race radios here. Shouldn't this be a World Tour race? It's special.
Yeah, definitely. It's in its 8th year, and I think down the line, it's up to the organisers really if they want to apply for a World Tour licence for this race. So again, down to the organisers more than anything, but I think they'll be kind of happy with the teams that they get and the riders that they get, because most of them are here. Obviously, apart from Wiggins, who decided that he wasn't going to ride today. Ben Swift coming in, we still don't know the reason for that. We haven't seen anything of Mark Cavendish, but his team are up near the front. They've got 5 riders in this front group. There's a small group of about 10 or 12 just trying to come across just out our picture within about 20 or 30 seconds of this front group.
Sagan, Evans, Ulissi, Pelizzotti, Cunego. Valverde, all in this front group, as is Andre Amador. Now, he's an interesting name for this sort of profile. Kwiatkowski is going well, Trentin, Goash and Pols alongside Uran, so 5 names from that team. Bauki and Geskia are the riders from Giant, Angel Vicioso alongside Dumoulin, Preidler and Salvatore Puccio for Sky. Benatti and Kreuziger are the Team Tinkoff Saxo riders. I'll get it the right way around this time. Ian Standard on his own for Sky, and Jules Jensen is there as well. So that's a quality group.
Yeah, no, definitely. Most of the top names that we thought would be up here, you know, looking for the winner here. But most importantly, it's about who you've got in this group. We know that Peter Sagan is alone. We know that Cancellara is alone, but just down to the riders' right, there is a small group, about 10 or 12, just trying to come across. There's only the neutral service car behind, plus I think a guest car and the referee, the commissaire's car just behind. So it really depends on who is in this chasing group. We can see 3 riders in the yellow of Tinkoff Saxo, and they have got a very strong rider in Benatti. But there's a lot of riders. This looks as if it's one of the Astana riders on form, Tano Kanga, trying to come across in this group behind. As you say, it's about 36 seconds. It's going to be now or never. It looks as if this group behind is struggling to come up now. But Omega Pharma Quickstep went from 5 on the front. They've decided that there's no point putting the whole team on the front and dragging the other riders. So they've put 2 riders on the front to keep the pressure on, so that no other team are trying to come up from behind with some numbers, because it's suiting them down to the ground, having Uran and Kwiatkowski there, because for me they are 2 really good riders that could possibly win this race today for Omega Pharma Quickstep.
I was just trying to have a look around with the gap now at 38 seconds and growing, 31.6 Ks to go. Who has missed out here? First of all, jumps out very, very quickly. I Am Cycling, nobody there. No Lukfist, no Brendley, no Elmiger. Astana, well, we shall see if Kanga gets there, but of course Iglinski's had form previously in this race. He's not there. Bardiani, well, we couldn't maybe have expected them to get anybody in the front group. That is the chasing group, 42 seconds behind. No Sparagli for Etienne Kubeka, who might have been looking to do well. Yellow Flow, Maro Finetto. A lot of people talking him up today. Not in the lead group. He's in the chase group, we're led to believe. Nobody for United Healthcare, which today is led from the car by one of the main men in Italian cycling and the DS is Roberto Damiani, formerly, of course, very recently of Lampre. Tinkoff Saxo, I'll get that right by the end of the season, I promise. They have those 3 men we talked about, very, very strong men as well, Kreuziger, Benatti and Jules Jensen.
Uran is on the front here with Goash, and you know, that's interesting because obviously Uran has been showing some good form already, so they've probably had a wee chat and thought, well, I'm maybe not on a great day. I'd rather you can just see Trentin talking a wee bit further down with Kwiatkowski. So it does look as if Paul's also in there for Omega Pharma Quickstep. So it does look as if they are thinking of one man, and that's the Polish road race champion Kwiatkowski for this race today.
Interesting for Movistar. Alejandro Valverde was talked up as the big favourite for this, but Andre Amador, for me, on a profile such as this, is also a very, very dangerous rider.
Definitely, we've seen him do well in a lot of races. And he always seems to come up with the goods when you know, the pressure is on. And down towards the front, still a couple of talented riders in there. Warren Barguil, Tom Dumoulin, Simon Getchka just in front, and they've got another man towards the front. So they're kind of hiding down the back. They don't want to show the numbers that they've got, but they do have 4 riders in this front group. So you know, Giant Shimano will be happy with this, although they are trying to hide out the way of the eyes of Omega Pharma Quickstep, who are 5 in this group. So yeah, they're using up 2 of their riders to 1 of the Giant Shimano riders. So yeah, it's going to get more interesting. The next section up is at 24.6 kilometres. It's only 800 metres. But the main selection is already done. We've got 20-odd riders in this front group, and the longest section has already been done. So a chance to just relax and, you know, on the good tarmac roads here, and just think of the last 30 kilometres.
30 kilometres to go on the 8th edition of the Strade Bianche. On our way into Siena and the famous Piazza del Campo, we have a front group that is 46 seconds ahead of most of the chasers, those who are left anyway, after the hardest section of the dirt gravel roads that we've been along today. 10 sections in total, almost 50 kilometres of the 200 in this race. 3 remain, only short ones, but after that we've a couple of difficult hills coming in. The obstacles by no means over yet, but the big news, Brian Smith alongside me, is that most of the big favourites are in this front group.
Yeah, looking at the start list, the only one I would say is last year's defending champion Marino Moser, but we didn't really know what his form was. But over that 11.5 kilometre section, it's difficult for the cameras because there's only kind of 3 cameras in this race to pick up everybody. We know that Luca Paolini punctured, and he won't get back. But if anything happened on that 11.5 kilometre section of white roads here, you weren't going to get back to the front of this race, and it could still happen. You could be in this front group and puncture and not get back, such as bike racing. There is a bit of luck involved, and just looking behind, still neutral service. This gap is still hovering just under a minute, and this chasing group looks as if it's swelled ever so slightly to about possibly 30-40 riders. But again, the team cars will be on the radio to the commissar, hoping to get move up before this next section, because if Carol Evans has a puncture or anything happen, then BMC have lost out big time in this race.
Warren Balgui won his regional sports personality of the year now. First real attack from the front. And it is a mega Pharma Quick-Step who have sent their man out. It's Matteo Trentin, the Italian. He rode so well last week, both in Newsblad and behind. And is this Amador? It is. Amador has been sent on a reconnaissance mission.
Well, that's what they're talking about. We came off the sections, about 20-odd riders, 5 riders from one team, Omega Pharma Quick-Step, and we saw them in Kuurne, Brussels Kuurne, just drag everybody away, and they forced the breakaway. But that group is too big just to let some of the big names like Cancellara. Here he goes down the right hand side, and he decides that we're not going to drag everybody towards the finish. We've got Cancellara, we've got Peter Sagan, his 2 teammates are riding on the front, and bang, Trentin goes, which is a very good move, because over the last period of time they have been riding at the front. There was 5. They put 2 riders on the front, Uran and Gowash, and again, that's why we saw Trentin talking to Kwiatkowski, because you don't want to drag these top riders anywhere near the last 20 kilometres, because anything can happen. Kwiatkowski could puncture or anything, so you always want to put everybody in the back foot. And we noticed as well that Giant Shimano have 4 riders in this group, and everybody was just prepared to sit behind Omega Pharma Quick-Step. Now it gets very interesting. And Trentin down the roads, softening up this break. He's a strong rider himself, won a stage of the Tour de France last year. But it just looks as if there's about 5 riders coming across, including Ian Stannard from Team Sky.
Stannard a little isolated behind, but he has form. Trentin certainly does. He was excellent the day after at Newsblad as well, remember. Sunday, Kuurne, Brussels Kuurne, an integral part of the team that saw Tom Bonham win. Cadel Evans recognises the danger. Andre Amador in the meantime has been wheeled in.
Vicioso for Katusha also already in there, and he was the only rider from Katusha in this front group. So Evans again reading this race very well, because as soon as one rider from Omega Pharma goes down the roads, you've got a couple of the teams with only one rider. Simon Getchka's in there with the bearded man, Ian Stannard. So Amador, very interesting. I think on Omega Pharma Quick-Step we were thinking, well, maybe I wish I had one rider in this group, because firing one rider down the road and having another rider in here in this 5-man breakaway would have been perfect for them. So again, when you attack like that, you really have to look at the counter-attacks, but it's forced Tinkoff Saxo to go on the offensive now.
Brilliant move by Trentin. It's blown open again, and you saw the little ramp on which he attacked. Don't worry, there are plenty more where that came from in the final 26 kilometres of this race. There's plenty of twists and turns to go. I doubt very much that is the move that will finish things. So many obstacles to overcome, and already Trentin's advantage isn't looking good. Stannard in this group, Gestia there as well, Angel Vicioso, and Amador is struggling to stay on with Evans just behind. So much yet to come. In the meantime, also for Movistar, second wheel there. You can tell him apart because he's wearing the 3/4 length bib tights. It's Alejandro Valverde. the man on form in the professional peloton at the moment. 5 wins already this season.
Well, what happened last year in the race, we've seen Cancellara marked by Peter Sagan, and Moreno Moza went off and won the race. And now we're getting some good team tactics here with Omega Pharma Quick-Step not wanting to just drag these riders closer and closer towards the finish. So Trentin went on the attack, but they've missed out in not putting one rider in this group, because if they put just one other rider in this group, you'd have been sitting at the back in a free ride across, and then it would do 2 in front. So this is a good move for Amador here for Movistar, going through in the dark blue. Vicioso in the red for Katusha, BMC in the red and the black for Evans, and Ian Stannard for Team Sky. So a good move for them.
This race has been blown apart again. Trentin went on the attack. Sitting up to be joined now by this group, getting some more energy inside it. Let's see if he can get it open. Can't waste too much time.
Yeah, pressure's on. He's thinking now that an opportunity as we get closer to this 800-metre section, that he's on the attack, that he really has to keep his energy replenished. But you can just look at the gap now. It does look as if these 5 riders are almost on him. So there'll be 6 riders in this lead group. The group behind did look as if it was the chase was on with Tinkoff Saxo team in the yellow outfit. But Trentin going round that corner using all the road, and they'll soon be on to this next section.
Next section just 800 metres long, as you say, Brian. Not particularly difficult at all. It's got one of the lower star ratings.
But back in this front group, it's going to be very difficult for, now we've got almost 6 riders in this front. We've got Trentin still persevering with the 5 riders behind, but Peter Sagan and Trek Factory only have Cancellara. So again, how they've missed out in this group. Evans, a danger man, a guy that's showed some form already this season. He only was there alone, no other BMC teammates, and he gets in this move. Same could be said for Vicioso of Katusha. So we hit this section. It's only 800 metres, but still, we could get a puncture, you could get anything could happen, your race could be over. But what does Peter Sagan, what does Fabian Cancellara do now? Because they're on their own, they can't put riders in front to keep this gap down. So it'll be very interesting to see as we go back to the group behind it. These guys have just left, to see who is doing the chasing. And I would think that as we go back here, somebody like Cancellara, where the gap is still down, or Peter Sagan has to try and do something here, because they cannot allow these 6 riders to go down the road. Something has to happen. But again, back to the front, and it's Jules Jensen of the Tinko Saxov on the front. Roman Kreuziger is also in this group, but you can just see Cancellara in the black with the white helmet just on the right hand side, just sitting back there. But 15 seconds is enough to try and chip across to here, especially when you've not got the riders to help you out.
17, as you say. 2 more sections after this finishes. There's Angel Vicioso. He's a very, very good rider for this sort of parkour as well, what is to come. Geskia, well, we've seen him in plenty in a breakaway in stage racing. He's a hard rider who likes the classics as well. And Standard, well, you saw him last week, you saw him last spring.
I was going to say, he looks as if he's kind of struggling a wee bit at the back here, but that's just his normal style. That's the way he rides all the time. But
he's waiting for it to rain.
It does look as if Ian Stannard is kind of toiling slightly at the back. Vicioso is the rider at the front for Katusha. They've just caught up with Trentin. But it does look as if Ian Stannard at the back for Team Sky, still, just feeling the pain ever so much. Tell you what, who looks good? Cadel Evans, he just comes up to the front, looks behind. He does look good. Amador, a danger. Getchka, strong rider as well. But here we go. Kreuziger goes with a Valverde on the wheel.
Well, Valverde not willing to let Kreuziger go. Interesting. Very, very interesting. We go all the way back down into 8th, 9th position. There is Cancellara and a teammate finally for Ian Stannard in that group as well. Right at the back we go all the way to Kwiatkowski. Mikhail Gołaś in there as well. Uran in the minute being distanced.
Yeah, he done a power of work just before that section, but a good move for Tinko Saxov, because they couldn't, with 3 riders, they couldn't just ride on the front, so they kept the gap down to a minimum of 15%, and Kreuziger is trying to come across, but he's got another danger man Valverde on the wheel, and with having two riders with Amador and Valverde, the pendulum swings again into Movistar team, because you know, they'll have the numbers towards the front. So what are Omega Pharma Quick-Step going to do about this? They had 5 riders. Looks as if they'll lost one out the back door with Uran, and they still have two good options here. Will Pauls is a very good rider at this type of terrain, and Kwiatkowski, the Polish road race champion. But it does look as if, as we say it, that we're going to see another regroupment. 22.1 kilometres to go, and we still have a lot of steep climbs.
Barguil on one of those steep climbs.
Look at Peter Sagan playing with them,
motoring along. Here he goes. I thought he was a little dormant before. Nice to see you, Pete.
He cannot sit back when you're the sole rider, and he just used the other riders. He latched on to Kreuzer coming across. Everybody was easing coming up to this, and he just went bang. And that's what we're saying. We have to wait. These are the favourites, but they've not got any teammates with them. Kwiatkowski looks so cool. He just comes up, looks round at him and goes, what you can do, I can do better. But Cancellara is struggling now. He didn't make it. The other two strongest riders, it seems to be, in this front group. Kwiatkowski looks so cool. Cancellara just using that momentum, but Sagan just using that momentum, but Cancellara looked to be struggling slightly there.
Cancellara still left behind, Barguil just in front of him. This was the moment. Look at this from Peter Sagan.
Thank you, Crouch. You got to take me across, and I'll go on the attack. This is perfect for him because, as I said, no teammates, no nothing, so he has to go on the attack. But that was really impressive. But more impressive was Kwiatkowski. Just came straight across to him. And this is a good workman group here, but very interesting to see Cancellara never had it to go with Kwiatkowski and Sagan there, and had to leave it up to one of the giant Shimano riders.
I love that. Little look behind. Has Sagan finally made his cocky match? It's great to have two of them, because if they're both going to be gunning for these sorts of races, it's going to be fantastic to see their egos clashing before, during, and maybe even after races, as we saw Peter getting himself in a little bit of trouble sometimes. It's not always done when he crosses the line for Sagan.
Well, just what we were saying, when Valverde was coming across with Amador, looking as if Movistar were in a very good place. Looks as if it's Ulisse there just towards the back. He was the rider that won Camaiore during the week.
He thinks he can win here, by the way. He was talking himself up in the paper before, and he's from Tuscany. His family actually,
he would love to win it, but
was from a vineyard around here.
Look, the pressure is on now. If you're strong enough, you should be near the front, and he's down the back of this group, so it means to me that he's hanging on a bit. These two riders seem to be the strongest in the race, and it was a bit of showboating there by Peter Sagan, but Kwiatkowski, you know, was equal to it. And we're just saying, going from 5 riders, the pendulum swinging over to possibly 2 from Movistar in front. It goes back to Omega Pharma Quick-Step. Will Pauls at the back there, struggling a wee bit, but this is the perfect move for Omega Pharma Quick-Step. They did have the numbers, and he seems to be the man in form, and he's got an equal with him in Peter Sagan.
Sagan in front, 20.2 kilometres remain. Just wondering whether he was out of sorts, looking a little dormant, something not right, and then he popped up. And he popped up in special style. 14 seconds a minute between the front group and the chasing group. We've been through Montalcino, started off in San Gimignano, 8 of the 10 sectors done.
Well, the next one should be coming up. But communication here between Kwiatkowski, the Polish champion for Omega Pharma Quick-Step at the front, and Peter Sagan from Cannondale. They're working well together. Be interesting to see who is trying to close this down. We've seen the Tinkoff-Saxel team with Kreuzer trying to fire across to that original move, but he never really made it. And now we have 2 very strong riders at the front. Warren Barguil is the giant Shimano rider, and again, he's the giant Shimano. They've been caught out 2 strong riders down the road as we get on the penultimate section here, but it does look as if Cancellara never had the legs to go when these 2 riders went, but anything could happen in these sections.
19 Ks to go. Kwiatkowski, superb start of the season, now in the Polish national race champions jersey, and the Slovakian champion Peter Sagan looking at the back. Diego Ulisse hanging on for Lampre, and of course Standard has Puccio with him for Sky.
Well, Giant Shimano now having 3 riders sat at the back, and 4 riders in this front group are now having to go on the offensive now and try to do something about it. And you know, they've got a good team. You can just see the two riders, Getchka on the far side and Barguil, and this is actually Dumoulin on the near side. Amador struggling a wee bit here, as we see. It looks as if Trentin back towards the front, and he just moves over and just eases off. 21 seconds. These are the two strongest riders in this race today, and that's why they've got 21 seconds on the attack. The Polish champion at the back, Peter Sagan at the front.
On the Strade Bianche, 9th of the 10 gravel sectors. It's got 4 out of 5 stars in the Gazzetta dello Sport in terms of difficulty, this one, so right up there with the most difficult. 2.4 kilometres long. Should finish up when we get to around 17 kilometres to go, so we're told in the route book.
I tell you what, it just looks so easy for these two riders now. 28 seconds, and you know, everybody knew that was the race. That's when it went. When Peter Sagan, these two groups came together, Peter Sagan just decided, well, thanks Kreuziger, but I'm going to use this momentum and fire straight past. Kwiatkowski came straight up to him, went past him, and the two of them went away. Interesting, Cancellara never had the power to go with it when it mattered.
Struggling up the Colle Binzuto. Gradients of up to 15% here. 9th of 10 sectors on the gravel roads. 18.3 kilometres to go. Kwiatkowski, the Polish champion, and Sagan, the Slovakian champion, they have 33 seconds on a group that includes some big names. Cancellara keeping his powder dry for the minute. Hasn't looked fantastic, but he may well just be bluffing. Remember, the 2 times that Cancellara's won this race, he has won them on the final climb into town.
Well, it's not going to happen today, but it looks about 33 seconds to the duo in front. We have seen a great attack in the last 50 kilometres, but it's Gowash at the front. He'll be happy that his countryman and teammate is down the road, Kwiatkowski. He was the rider that they were riding for today. But it's down now to Giant Shimano at the front with 2 riders trying to control things. It's going to be very difficult because it does look as if these 2 riders are on form. That's the Polish champion at the front, Kwiatkowski, for Omega Pharma Quickstep, and Peter Sagan. Perfect for Peter Sagan. We're just talking about it. With only 1 rider from his team in this front race, looking at it last year, it was easy for them because they had numbers, and coming to a group of 20-odd riders, only having 1, you know, no teammates with him, he had to go on the attack, and we were thinking it was either going to come from him or Cancellara, but the questions have been answered. Cancellara just doesn't have it at this moment in time. He's looking towards the Cobble Classics, Paris-Roubaix and Tour de Flanders. He is coming slowly, but he's not shown the form of these 2 riders today.
Great to see Polish cycling in general in rude health at the minute. Kwiatkowski and Gowash, 2 of the excellent names with big pedigree at the minute. Both young as well.
This is a difficult finish to this race. It's 200 kilometres, but they've been on the longer sections. We still have 1 section to go. After we come off this section, and it's 13.1 kilometres, but looking at the parkours, it's up and down. We still have an 18% gradient, and let's not forget 16% gradient towards the finish. So it's always produces a strong winner, and it's the strongest man that always wins this race at the end of the day. We've got 2 very strong riders here, Peter Sagan and Kwiatkowski at the front, but it does look as if it's between these 2 riders, because you can look, this gap is going up to 38 seconds now, but there's only a small amount of people left in this chasing group.
Now, Brian, before we talk tactics for these 2 at the front and how each one is going to win it, just a little reminder of how these guys spent a couple of days before this race training. Peter Sagan practicing wheelies over the finish line in the middle of Siena. There's photos on Twitter to prove it.
Well, they won't be doing that today, I don't think.
And Kwiatkowski, well, he was out there on reconnaissance with a Mega Pharma Quickstep. So, tactics. Kwiatkowski, slightly different rider to Peter Sagan, who, of course, is an all-encompassing, fantastic rider. You get the feeling Kwiatkowski is going to have to attack Sagan a little earlier. He's going to do something. Can't wait for the sprint, surely.
It's not going to be a sprint. It's going to be who's got the strength left on the final incline to the finishing line. Looking at it at this moment in time, I think Kwiatkowski is looking a bit sharper, especially in that last attack.
So he'll go on the final climb? Into town, 900 metres from the finish?
Yeah, it's 42 seconds. It's going to go up to a minute soon, because in this 16-man group behind, it's been left up to Giant Shimano, and they're only committing 2 riders to the chase. The other riders just look as if, you know, their race is over. It's you know, it's been tough over the last 30-40 kilometres. The race has really been on, but it does look as if the race is over. Maybe Puccio will go up and try and help the Giant Shimano riders, but these are the 2 riders that are showing great form. And Kwiatkowski does look as if he's doing the majority of work at the front. He just flicked his arm there, hoping Peter Sagan would come through, but again, he comes through just a wee bit slowly. And I think Peter Sagan is thinking, well, the strongest rider in the race is behind me, how can I beat him? And it's going to be close, but for me, Kwiatkowski out in the road at this moment in time seems to have the legs, especially on the climbs.
Well, we're waiting for that final climb at Le Tolfe. It's a short descent followed by a very steep ascent, maximum gradient 18%. It comes in about 2 kilometres time, finishes in the village of Le Tolfe, and from there 12 kilometres remain to the finish in Siena's Piazza del Campo. We've talked about those demanding final kilometres. Gradients up to 16% after that. But one little section of Sterrato still to go. As Puccio does some work on the front.
Yeah, it's about time. They couldn't just leave it up to Giant Shimano. Puccio comes up for Team Sky. He's got Ian Stannard behind us. These 2 riders, you've got to remember that, you know, these guys know each other. They've grown up with each other. And I think they raced, you know, junior racing against each other as well. So that's why the communication is there. They want to go to the finishing climb together and then just battle it out. You know, strongest man wins in the day. But back to this chasing group. Sky put 1 rider up, and looks as if Amador is trying to help out. Cunigo is a rider from Lampre in the 2nd place, but the chase is not really on. No longer have we seen 3 or 4 riders come up towards the front. So you now see an Amiga Pharma Quickstep. I think it's Trentin sitting 3rd wheel. These guys know that the 2 strongest guys are down the roads. You know, it was as soon as Peter Sagan went on the attack there, you know, in the bright lime green jersey, everybody knew that's when the race was on. The Polish champion went after him. Everybody tried 100% to go with it. Cancellara tried, and you know, when Cancellara sees it, he knows it was happening but didn't have the legs to go. That was the hardest point of the race. There was attack over attack. The 2 groups came together, perfect place to counter attack, and the strongest guys came to the front in the end. Now it's touching 1 minute to these 2 riders in front. The group behind are racing for 3rd, and I think they know it.
Interesting that Sagan was talking about his spring battle with Cancellara. In the paper this morning, he was telling the Italian national press that it's stimulating, the rivalry he has with Fabian Cancellara. But he says he doesn't look at Fabian, he looks only to himself, and he knows that he has the strength to make the racing. That's the great thing that people seem to love about Sagan. It's that arrogance, it's that confidence that just oozes out of him. This is the group that's chasing, and we're going to get counter-attacks now. People finally realising as we come into the province of Siena that it is now or never. This is the final road in towards Piazza del Campo. These guys are 13.7 kilometres away, and as Brian Smith said, this surely is the race for the winner. Still the communication is there. Oh dear.
He's under pressure, Sagan. He can tell it. You know, he just spat out there and they went all over.
No slow-mos of that, please.
Yeah, but Amati just coming up here, he'll be more than happy. Kwiatkowski is, I think, got the measure of Peter Sagan. Obviously, you can't discount Sagan at this moment in time, but on this type of finish, it does look as if Kwiatkowski is the stronger of the 2. 1 minute and 11 seconds. It's all over for this group. They are looking for 3rd. One of the Giant Shimano team come up towards the front, and Valverde tries to go on the left-hand side, but it's
being followed as well. Vicioso is there,
but it's all over. He comes, attacks, waves. Nothing's going to happen. He's just going to upset people doing this. If you want to try and win this race, you should have gone with Kwiatkowski and Sagan when he went.
But of course, perhaps they didn't know the strength of the attack and the gaps. Remember, no radios in this race. Perhaps he's just seen a time gap and thought, well, it's now or never. We shall see. Well, 10th and final gravel sector, just 1.1 kilometre to go. This is the steep descent we talked about. A very sharp ascent after that. And there we go. The look behind. Oh, we don't want to see that again.
He's trying to be arty.
Sagan, I thought it was Sagan spitting out. So this is the descent we're talking about, and in the distance you can just see the ascent that they're going to have to take on. Remember, 18%.
Say that again.
It's not easy. It's not easy. 1 minute 14 the gap though. Interesting to see if there comes a point here, Brian, when they start to look at each other.
Well, they can't. It's just over 1 minute and 15, and Peter Sagan can't. He knows that if he gets caught, then there's no other teammates, there's no options for him. So the only option is to ride with Kwiatkowski and get to the finish, and they'll battle it out. So that's why he'll ride. Kwiatkowski knows he's got options behind, but he is on form and feeling good, so he'll want to try and get to the finish. You can just see the average speed is 37.629. It did start off today at a maximum in the first hour, or the average in the first hour, 45.8 kilometres an hour. So they weren't hanging around. We had 4 riders go down the roads, and just before the longest section, 11.5 kilometres, it just went into one. The race just went into overdrive, and it's just been bang until we've got a group of 16 we're looking at the moment, a 1:19 behind Peter Sagan of Cannondale and Kwiatkowski, the Polish champion of Amiga Pharma Quick-Step.
Valverde taking it up once more. 1 minute and 22 seconds. Well, it's growing despite Valverde's insistence upon trying to drag this forward. It might not grow for much longer though, because this is hard. Look at how the people are stood on the road. You get a real visual impact at how this is. But this is it. This is the end of the section, and that's the end of the Strade Bianche for this year's race. 12 kilometres to go, proper roads from here on in, but the climbing hasn't finished yet. Le Tolfe, 12 k's to go. Valverde attacking from behind, but it seems as though this race with 12 kilometres to go will be between Kwiatkowski and Sagan.
Yeah, they attacked when everybody was when everybody was 100%. So the 2 stronger riders went down the road. Valverde just trying to look for, you know, he's got some good form. Never had the punch when Kwiatkowski and Sagan went down the road, but obviously trying to get the 3rd place here. The gap has just come down ever so slightly, 1 minute and 9 seconds. But this has been a tough last 30-40 kilometres for everybody. And just see Kunigo there. You've got Cancellara now kind of being distanced a wee bit, trying to do something. But this 16-man group is, they're on their hands and knees in this climb. Everybody has put what they could into this race, and it does look as if with 11.4 to go that these are the 2 riders that are going to battle it out. We are going to see a new winner, because none of the 2 riders have won, although they've been on the podium. Peter Sagan has been on the podium, but we're going to get a new winner in the 8th edition. Is it going to be number 8 in the 8th edition, Peter Sagan in the lime green, or is it going to be 103 Kwiatkowski? And they're just having a wee chat with each other as well.
20 seconds shaved off in the space of a kilometre there for Alejandro Valverde.
Yeah, he's trying to distance the riders behind more than trying to come across on his own. He's not going to make it across on his own, but
even if he does, he'll have nothing left.
Yeah, Peter Sagan and Kwiatkowski are just riding a good tempo. They're probably riding 95%.
Cancellara on your picture there for Trek Factory Racing in the all black with the small white band on the shorts. This is another of those climbs. Remember, we get gradients up to 16% here, so not much has changed. Kwiatkowski wearing 103 in the Polish red and white champions jersey for Omega Pharma Quick-Step. This is the man with 5 victories so far this season. The winner in Murcia, the winner in Andalusia. It's Alejandro Valverde. As we wait at the finish, who will be standing talking to Dan Lloyd at the finish as the winner. We shall see. Chasing group, here they are. Looks like Kreuziger,
Kunigo and Cancellara, 3 riders trying to come across to Valverde. Again, the Amiga Pharma Quick-Step goes up and has a chat with Kwiatkowski. That's David Bramati, the Italian sports director, and he'll be willing this duo to stay away, and Kwiatkowski winning the race today, because he's a passionate rider himself, Bramati, and likes to hear his own voice. That sometimes a lot of shouting, you know, typical kind of Italian, and he'll be on the edge of his seat in the last 10 kilometres.
We're talking about the confidence and arrogance of Peter Sagan. Not to everybody's taste. At Speed Metal Cycling, who does a podcast over in the Americas, said he hates can't stand it. He said the arrogance is exactly what he cannot stand about Sagan. Doesn't like his attitude, doesn't like his wheelies. He'll be hoping the man on the right-hand side takes victory, Kwiatkowski. On the top left, you have Valverde, 57 seconds back, and 1 minute 20 back, Cancellara, and with him, Kreuziger of Tinkoff Saxo, with Damiano Cunego of Lampre. 9.7 kilometers to go. 58 seconds the gap it is between Sagan and Kwiatkowski at the Strade Bianche here in 2014. 8th edition of the race.
We're just looking at Cunego, and he had a bit of a tussle in his team with Ulisse, and we did notice Ulisse was down the back of the group, looked to be struggling a bit. I know he's local and he wanted to win this race after winning Camaiore during the week and showing some good form, but it looks as if Cunego has got the legs on, the younger man, and he's in this group. And with Cancellara and Kreuziger, can they catch this man? 22 seconds they are in deficit to this rider here, Valverde. He's on his own. He's just trying to stay away in the last 10 kilometres to try and get that third place. Because if he gets any closer to the two riders in front of Sagan and Kwiatkowski, they'll start up in the tempo. Kwiatkowski and Sagan are just thinking, how can they outfox the other and try and win the 8th edition of Strade Bianche?
Valverde won't race Tirreno Adriatico, he won't race Milan-San Remo, but he's racing here. I think he's going to have a go tomorrow as well. On our way into Siena, and if you've been to Siena, you'll know that most of it, certainly the old pot where we're headed, is on the top of a hill. Hence the big gradients to go into town. You sort of keep going downhill until you get to, it's almost like a moat around the old city, and then there are some very, very steep gradients up into the centre of town, and that spectacular finish that awaits us in the Piazza del Campo is one of the most beautiful and scenic races in the world. And this, it's almost as if they were listening to us in the truck. Look at that. Siena, one of Tuscany's great empires back in the day. They control much of the territory around them. A real medieval jewel of a city. On the left, the men who are going to reach it first. Peter Sagan in the green of Cannondale, Slovakian champion, and alongside him, Kwiatkowski of Omega Pharma Quick-Step. And there is, you can see the tower there. That's the Piazza del Campo. That's where we're headed. Huge oval square, if you will. Famous for its palio and its medieval games. It's a cycling race, in modern terms, that has roots in its heroic nature of the sport. This really does bring out the best of what is cycling's history, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a great race, and now we see that Valverde has been caught by Cancellara, Cunego and Kreuziger. So 4 riders, and now within a minute of the 2 riders in front, Peter Sagan and Kwiatkowski. But Cancellara tried to go with them when they went, never had the legs, and now these riders will try and battle it out for 3rd place. So we'll have to wait and see, but up towards the front, inside the last 8 kilometres, Peter Sagan at the front in the lime green has got his match today in the Polish champion, Kwiatkowski.
55 seconds. That gap not really important, though. All the racing happening behind. Valverde, by the way, has been reached. You can forget about the gaps on your screens. You can show just how unimportant they are. Kwiatkowski or Sagan then haven't quite fully started looking around at each other just yet. The pace is still good. Kwiatkowski coming through to do his turn. Remember, it was this point last year as he goes into a position we don't like to see. There's the image of the finish line, the last 70 metres downhill. That is Mauro Vegni and Stefano Alocchio down there, just getting out the car. They've done their job.
Very tough finish, but again, Omega Pharma Quick-Step may be slightly upset they never got a rider in this 4-man chase group. This would have been perfect for someone like Wout Poels to tag along to and just sit on the back, because obviously Kwiatkowski is down the road. So now that it means with these 4 riders of Valverde, Cunego, Cancellara and Kreuziger, it means that these 2 riders in front with no teammates in that chasing group, they have to ride as hard as they can towards the finish.
Any of you squeamish, I hope you were looking away there. Remember, thankfully, we've got rid of most of the lumps and bumps, but if you hit a pothole in that position, not exactly what we want to be seeing. Six and a half kilometres remain of Strade Bianche, this young race that really does bring the magic of Tuscany to the world, and the history of cycling. Well, you get to see the heroic nature of the riding. Michał Kwiatkowski on the left-hand side of the pole. Peter Sagan on the right from Slovakia. It's a megaphone, a quick step against Cannondale. This is the finish line that awaits them. A beautiful sunny spring day, very much in contrast to the cold we've had 12 months ago in spring. Kwiatkowski really started to make a name for himself 12 months ago. Win the Italian races. He was excellent in Tirreno. Yep. Went on to do well in the Giro d'Italia. Of course, we've known more about Sagan for the last few years. 59 victories for him in his career so far. Chasing group of Cunego, Kreuziger, Cancellara and Valverde, but all the racing is going on up ahead of us.
This gap coming down, 51 seconds, but back up towards the front. They are just trying to save that little bit. Bramati coming up alongside, giving them the time gap that is 50 seconds. So he's shown the 5-digit up to Kwiatkowski, so that he knows that it's coming down. But these riders in front of Kwiatkowski and Peter Sagan, they're not giving it 100%. But the group behind of Cancellara, Kreuziger, Cunego and Valverde are trying their hardest to bring these two riders back, but they're going to run out of road and power, because these two riders now are just thinking of this finishing climb and thinking of winning the 8th edition of Strade Bianche.
It's all going to come down to the Via Santa Caterina. It's 16% ramps, and the final fight between Michał Kwiatkowski and Peter Sagan. 49 seconds separates them from the chasers behind. A quick chat between them. Roman Kreuziger desperate to keep this move going. Tries to gee up Alejandro Valverde, make sure he comes in through and does his turn. Cancellara is still there as well. They themselves approaching Siena. Sagan comes to do his own turn. Remember, Via Santa Caterina, that is the name of the street that's going to make the difference. Uphill, 900 metres to go. Remember, the gradient exceeds 10% until 500 metres from the finish line, then reaching that 16% in Via Santa Caterina. A sharp right-hand turn after that into Via delle Terme, and then Via Banchi di Sotto. 300 metres to go. The road continues to climb slightly, then 150 metres from the line into Via Rinaldini, entering the Piazza del Campo, 70 metres from the finish line. The final 30 metres exactly descending at a gradient of 7%, and the finish line itself, the last 10 metres or so, pan flat.
Well, that gap came down to 47 seconds there to this group of four, but the closer we get to this finishing climb, this group of four will be thinking, well, I'm going to try and, I need to try and get on the podium, so I don't want to be dragging the other three. And so they'll be starting to look at each other, while just up the road, 49 seconds, Sagan and Kwiatkowski will be looking at each other. So they know they're in prime position for winning this race today, but which one is it going to be? Is it going to be Peter Sagan, number 8 in the 8th edition of Strade Bianche, or is it going to be a rider he has kind of raced with right from junior level up to this level, Kwiatkowski, the Polish road race champion in the white and the red? So yeah, a wee bit of a lull before the storm and the finish of this final climb up to the finishing line in Siena.
Well, it's all going to start with just over a kilometre to go, really, the proper action. Cunego, Kreuziger, of course Valverde and Cancellara behind as we get these beautiful images. Just enjoy that little lull and take in Siena. If you've never been, then put it on your wish list. This is a beautiful part of the world, not just for the scenery either. The food is absolutely exceptional in this part as well, and that's before we get onto the wine as well. Siena is special, and we hope we're going to see a special finale as well. Sagan and Kwiatkowski.
Well, we look at the riders that are in front of this race, Peter Sagan, Kwiatkowski, back to Cunego, Kreuziger, Valverde, Cancellara. They were the riders that we're kind of talking about that would be, you know, possible winners today. But now we're looking back to the third group on the road. This is a group at 1 minute and 41 seconds. This is the group with Wout Poels at the back. Again, probably the wrong group to be sitting on. He would have probably been better if he'd went with the Valverde group. But he is there with Evans, Wout Poels, and it does look as if it's Tom Dumoulin.
Well, it is International Women's Day, and some mimosa flowers, the image of the day, certainly in Italy at least as well. Nice to see. 2.7 kilometres to go in Strade Bianche.
Get rid of the last bottle, no weight in the bike. Thinking of this final climb, 45 seconds and 1:42 back to is Warren Barguil at the front for Giant Shimano. Wout Poels of Omega Pharma Quick-Step and Carol Evans for BMC. That's the Group 3 at 1:43. This is a group at 45 seconds, Group 2. Cancellara at the front in the black, Valverde in second place, Kreuziger in the yellow for Tinkoff Saxo, and just at the back there was Cunego.
Peter Sagan not making friends with the road sweepers here in Siena, throwing away just about everything he has on him. Brian Smith, how is this final climb going to go? Because I can see Kwiatkowski surely is going to be the more comfortable on this type of terrain.
Yeah, all Peter Sagan will want to do is stay with Kwiatkowski. He'll just want to stay with him because he does have the better jump when it comes to the finishing line. So, but Kwiatkowski has to go on the climb, and I think he'll go on the first part of the climb rather than wait.
Here we go then. Last bit of road coming up. Couple of turns to come, and then it is into the finale itself. The road already climbing for those in front, but not quite at the gradient that is going to set them apart. Cunego, Kreuziger, Valverde and Cancellara chasing on. 1.5 kilometres to go for Sagan and Kwiatkowski. 1 minute 43 in the meantime to these on the road. Evans, Poels, and that's not Franco Pellizotti. It is Warren Barguil. The motorbikes arriving, the cameras arriving, and here we go, Via Santa Caterina. 16% at the top of it. We're talking around 10% when they get inside the final kilometre. This, Brian Smith, is where it's all going to happen. This is the final kilometre approaching. A quick look for safety, look behind from both riders to make sure they have the space, make sure they have the time. Now the end game really does begin. It's coming up to 1 kilometre to go.
Well, this is the fact that these four riders are 44 seconds behind, and it'll look a lot shorter as they look behind, but it just means that Peter Sagan can't just afford to sit on Kwiatkowski. They have to keep riding. So as we get to the 1 kilometre to go, Peter Sagan at front, Kwiatkowski is behind, but Kwiatkowski is just waiting for the steeper part to begin.
Inside the last kilometre, and look at how the gradient kicks up here. I've actually walked down this road, and it is steep, I can tell you. It's steep just walking, never mind on a bicycle, pedalling, trying to win a race. This is Kreuziger ahead of Cancellara, but the race is here. Sagan on the left in the green. On the right, the white, black and red of Poland is Kwiatkowski. The road gets steeper, it gets harder, just a matter of a few hundred metres to separate the racers now.
With the four riders chasing behind at about 40 seconds. Cunego, the town rider at the front for Lampre, Valverde just behind, Cancellara and Kreuziger. But the difference, just notice the difference in the pedalling action. Sagan using a smaller gear to Kwiatkowski. Kwiatkowski looks as if he's got a wee bit more power left in these legs, just waiting to pounce on Peter Sagan. Doesn't want to take him to the finishing line. We all know what Peter Sagan is capable of. I'm just waiting for the attack here from Kwiatkowski very, very shortly.
Right, here we go. The gradient is going to go up to 16% for those guys out in front. Come on, we want to see what's happening up the front of the race. Here we go. Sagan and Kwiatkowski. Sagan at the minute in the position where Kwiatkowski, if he so wishes, can attack him. Let's see. Sagan, those really going for it. It is Sagan who is laying it down to the pole. Sagan in front, right on his wheel, and here goes Kwiatkowski. Goodbye, Peter. This is Kwiatkowski's race. Explosive from the Polish Polish champion. The crowd wills him on. He chose the hardest bit of the gradient to attack, and now he has to pedal for his dear life into the finish. Just a question of a couple of 100 meters to go, really. Big left turn here. He'll be entering the Piazza del Campo in just a minute's time. There it is, 200 to go. Kwiatkowski with an explosive attack on the top of Via Santa Caterina. He knows he's done it now. Sagan was almost instantaneously beaten, and Kwiatkowski shakes his head almost in disbelief in that his excellent early season form is going to give him one of the biggest wins of his career. It is a race that Peter Sagan finished second in last year. It remains a dream for him, but today it's a dream come true for Michał Kwiatkowski. The Polish champion crosses the line in the medieval Piazza del Campo, but he takes the win in 2014, and he is the 8th champion of Strade Bianche. Well, just as 12 months ago, Peter Sagan comes in beaten. Second place again for him. Another great ride, though. And Brian, well, it was just explosive at the end.
Yeah, 20 seconds in the end. Valverde looked to be the strongest in that group behind, and this third place will show that. Kreuziger looks as if he's going to come into fourth place, but yeah, Peter Sagan doing what he could do, and it's actually, in fact, Cunego comes round him in the last 100 metres there to take fourth place. Kreuziger and then Cancellara will be there in fifth place. Alessandro Tegnia, the PR-man, press officer for Omega Pharma Quick-Step. But what a win it was for the Polish road race champion. But a good effort for Peter Sagan. I think he was trying to psych Kwiatkowski out there by going as hard as he can to try and test him. But looking at the size of gear choice, this man here had the power in his legs. And when Sagan went inside the last 20-odd kilometres, this man was at a match to him, and he outmatched him in the end. And a fantastic win as he just goes into the enclosure to be await an interview from Dan Lloyd as Carl Evans comes up, and he'll be taking 7th place behind Cancellara, who will finish in 6th. So a good result for the Australian ex-world champion, who's won in these streets before during the Giro d'Italia. So he comes in just about a 140 down. So a good ride there by Carl Evans in the mix, in the attacks, and hopefully we'll hear from Kwiatkowski very, very shortly.
Well, almost 2 minutes since Michał Kwiatkowski rolled over, the former junior European champion on the road. He's been with Caja Rural, Radio Shack, but he really has settled into life well at Omega Pharma Quick-Step. It is his 3rd season. Remember, he was part of the World Team Time Trial Championship winning team at the end of last season in Tuscany. He's won a stage on the Tirreno Adriatico as well in Tuscany in team time trialing. He has a solo win to himself here, and of course he loves this part of Italy. Remember, he was also the best young rider at Tirreno last year. 12 months on since his real explosion. He's a man that can go on to great things, you feel?
Oh, definitely a very good rider. Noticed that last year, and I got him to it for 12 to 1 today to win. So
good day
I'm more
for you
than happy.
well.
Yeah, more than happy for him.
What a start of the season it's been. Remember, he was the winner 2 stages, including a time trial as well, in the Tour of the Algarve. Here he is, though, with Dan Lloyd.
Fantastic ride there today, but the man you came to the finish with, I think in many people's books, would have been the favourite. Were you expecting to drop him on the way into Siena here?
No, I didn't expect, but I knew the final pretty well from yesterday. You know, the team was so good today. We were like 5 guys in the front after like 50 k's to go, so we controlled the race, and yeah, I cannot describe how I feel, because winning in Siena here, it's amazing feeling, and yeah, what can I say?
But you've had an amazing start to this season. What do you put that down to? You must have had a pretty good winter of training.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem during the winter, and yeah, I just was focused on my work, and I started later the season if you compare with last year, and I'm really happy that about my condition, still keep on going, and I'm focused on my goals, and until now it's everything going well, so I'm really happy.
Well, congratulations, that was very exciting to watch. Well done.
Thank you.
It certainly was. Dan Lloyd there asking the questions. Michał Kwiatkowski with a gigantic jump to win. This it was it. Michał Kwiatkowski looks round as he sticks the sword into Peter Sagan. Devastating change of pace. Picked his moment, as he said in the interview, he knew the finale. And Michał Kwiatkowski wins Strade Bianche for 2014. So we saw it again there, Brian. Special change of pace.
Yeah, we could always see that he seemed to be the strongest at the match on Peter Sagan, but like most people, you don't want to take Peter Sagan to the finish, you never know. But he had the legs in the end, and Sagan has it set for second.
Well, just to point you in the direction of some more live sport coming up here on Eurosport 2 today. Live at 15:30 United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland time, it's the FIS World Cup ski jumping in Oslo, Norway. That is 4:30 if you're watching in Central Europe. Kwiatkowski wins from Sagan and Valverde. Koenig 4th, Kreuziger 5th, Cancellara, Evans, Balgi, Pauls and Geske making up the top 10 of what has been another stunning Strade Bianche. This race gets better with every year. We've had fantastic conditions, tremendous tifosi on the side of the roads. And of course, there is plenty more cycling coming up on Eurosport as well. Remember, Roma Maxima tomorrow, Paris-Nice starts as well. Tune in, we'll see you soon on Eurosport Cycling.